Ferrari is working hard on this first day of Formula One testing in Bahrain, where all 10 teams are striving to increase their understanding of their respective projects. It is a highly competitive context that is difficult to judge, as a myriad of factors create a smokescreen over the analyses that can be made. Primarily, we refer to lap times, which at this stage of the pre-season testing session are absolutely meaningless due to variations in internal combustion engine mapping, hybrid system configuration, fuel load, and tire compound differences. As if that were not enough, the driver can lift off the throttle at any moment to disguise the true lap time. Setting this clarification aside, we can still analyze the car's behavior on track, observing the driver's handling and the fundamental characteristics of the car. However, drawing definitive conclusions before testing at the 5.412-kilometer Bahrain International Circuit in Scuderia is complete would be entirely foolish. Not even the engineers themselves will have a full understanding of the car's true value at this stage, let alone us mere mortals who don't have access to the team's resources. During Ferrari's first outing with Lewis Hamilton at the wheel of the SF-25, the Italian car appeared on track fitted with a massive rake on the front section of the car. Positioned just behind the suspension layout, this contraption is used for data collection, crucial information that the team will process throughout testing to update the simulator through comparative trials. It's worth discussing the use of this equipment, which all teams employ. With Aero rakes, as those fluent in English call them, Ferrari has aimed to reconstruct the pressure field downstream of the front tire. This is an area of an F1 car where significant turbulence is generated, and managing it is crucial for the components further downstream toward the rear of the car. The pressure data collected is compared with the simulation environment and computational fluid dynamics, a far more accurate system than FlowViz. The latter is a special paraffin-based paint that, by contrast, tracks surface flow lines on the car. With this crucial aspect clarified, it is worth noting that the Maranello-based team is testing the pull rod front suspension, now able to push the system to its full potential for the first time, as the Fiorano shakedown had a speed limit. Now, let's shift the focus to handling to better understand the behavior of the Italian car in these first 4 hours of pre-season testing in Bahrain. Lewis Hamilton completed several runs in the morning, mainly using medium tires. Once the team removed the massive rake from the car, the Briton pushed for a few laps before shifting focus to studying the car's behavior and simulating high fuel conditions. In this setup, the Ferrari showed a certain instability. Mechanics intervened multiple times at the front to adjust the suspension system. Observing the rear camera footage, as well as wide-angle shots, we noticed a significant amount of sparks. The Ferrari engineers and technicians opted for a rather low ride height as a starting point. To provide more details, the SF-25 car's inconsistent behavior was evident. In the third sector, the unstable rear struggled to follow the front end. However, even in corner entry, things were not ideal. Turn 4 presented several issues, where a lack of rotation turned into oversteer on exit. The SF-25 bounced considerably, especially in the rapid direction changes of turns 5, 6, 7, where Lewis Hamilton struggled a lot, even exceeding track limits. Of course, Ferrari is in a full experimentation phase. The team is working to establish an initial operating window for the tires. At the same time, by continuously adjusting the setup, they have been trying to record the car's reactions in all driving phases, both from a mechanical and aerodynamic perspective. Ferrari needs to determine the baseline balance, and to do so, it must experiment. This is also why the car ran with very low ride heights, which in some cases caused the floor to stall. The goal is to verify the aerodynamic map to define the working window. It is therefore too early to raise an alarm, although it would have been preferable not to encounter such issues. An interesting detail: Lewis Hamilton performed several practice starts, positioning his left hand high up as he did at Mercedes. This suggests that Ferrari has modified its steering wheel to allow him to use this particular clutch release technique. Stay tuned for further analysis in the afternoon session, which will be handled by Charles Leclerc. Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari were inevitably the center of attention on the first morning of F1 testing in Bahrain. The 7-time world champion completed 70 laps of the Scuderia circuit, setting his best time at 1.31.834. Interestingly, that put him 4/10ths behind his successor at Mercedes, Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Times and rankings in the first 4 hours of the new season mean little to nothing, but they do show the Scuderia improving by a second and a half compared to the 1.33.247 lap recorded by Charles Leclerc in last year's morning session of the first day of winter testing. Regardless of performance, since, as mentioned, it doesn't tell us much, and even considering that the improved times are partly due to significantly cooler track and ambient temperatures, it is still interesting to analyze the work carried out by Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari on their F1 testing debut in Bahrain. The British champion followed a fairly standard program, initially focusing on short runs of 3 or 4 laps before moving on to mini long runs of around 10 laps. Pending official statements, this is not an unusual approach for the first day of testing, with mechanics and engineers likely prioritizing aerodynamic mapping of the SF-25, studying its behavior under varying ride heights and fuel loads. For now, it is also worth pointing out an interesting aspect regarding Ferrari's steering wheel disappear on the SF-25 of the British driver. The Italian side is making its new driver feel at home. The first onboard footage from F1 testing in Bahrain reveals some customizations in the steering wheel layout used by the 7-time world champion. For the first time since 2015, 2 iconic buttons on Ferrari's steering wheel have disappeared. Since his arrival, Lewis Hamilton has worked closely with his engineering team to tailor the 2025 car to his needs. The most crucial component in this process is undoubtedly the steering wheel, the main interface between driver and car. As a result, the 2 Ferrari drivers now use different layouts, with Charles Leclerc maintaining the steering wheel design used until now. The first images from Bahrain immediately highlight a significant change in the button layout on car number 44. On the upper left section, the N neutral button, previously the largest and easily recognizable with its bright green color, has been replaced by the CHR charge button, which activates the ERS recharge mode. Lewis Hamilton also requested a modification to the lighting system, adding a dedicated green LED near the CHR button for a clear visual reference. Leclerc, in contrast, uses the rev counter LEDs to indicate this mode. On the right side, the P pit limiter button, previously red and used to engage the speed limiter in the pit lane, has been replaced by a new command. The largest button on the right now houses the PC pit confirm button, used to confirm to the pit wall the intention to enter the pits, and is now set against a white background. The P and N buttons have been relocated further down on the steering wheel. Another change requested by the British driver involves the activation of the drag reduction system. The drag reduction system button has been moved to the front section of the steering wheel, just above the left-hand grip. This positioning is notably similar to the layout Lewis Hamilton used at Mercedes last season. His new teammate, Charles Leclerc, on the other hand, uses that button for the OK function, which confirms a setting change made via the rotary switches. In Formula One, every detail matters, and Lewis Hamilton's pursuit of extreme personalization is a perfect example of that philosophy.